Welcome to another episode. This is your man, Rock. And welcome to the Inner Source Radio Show, your source for the truth and the light. Today's episode is going to be on the state of the black mind in America. Where has it gone? Are we losing it? Is Black Lives Matter a good step for us? Well, only time will tell. For now, let's hop into this, all right? For those who this is your first time on the show, I want to thank you for tuning in. To those who are the returning listeners, I want to bless you one more time and thank you again for showing up. Of course, the Inner Source Radio Show was based on awakening the human populace at large by first working with my own culture and reawakening them to who and what we are and how can we change the state of the mind, because we know all is mind. Okay, so this show may be a little touchy for people. It's definitely not the best subject with everything going on and the constant harassment from police and other people around the world, but mainly at home, with innocent black men being killed and women being killed and all types of things. But I just want you to know that all that's going to change, and when all that is going to change, a major part of it is changing yourself. And as you change yourself, you change the way others view you and the way others interact with your condition. Where does it come from? They talk about us on a regular basis like we're animals and so on and so forth. But is that how our culture has always been? And most people will tell you it's a resounding no. No, we weren't overly aggressive. I mean, we may have been a warring people or barbarians, but typically when you're protecting your home or you're running out of food or so on, you kind of do what you got to do. But the current state of babies having babies, black murders, promiscuousness with men and women, young men and women, the lack of respect for the elderly, so on and so forth. That stigma that has been stuck to us. Of course, this isn't geared towards everyone of the African American culture, but I know some of you can identify with it. I mean, I myself, I'm simply 2 or 3 generations removed away from slavery, so that program way of thinking is still evident. So I'm going to start off tonight by reading a little bit of Willie Lynch's speech. And, Willie Lynch, if you guys never heard of him, he was a slave master and, I guess, a trainer of sorts from the West Indies. And he came to the banks of James River in 1712, where he taught the colonies how to basically make a slave. In fact, he goes on to say in a letter that he wrote to the gentlemen who were interested in his unique expertise. He says here, basically, guys, in my bag, I have a foolproof method for controlling black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Many member many a member of your family or overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences of slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. When I look at the black mind, when I look at my people, some so talented but can't seem to get anywhere, a lot of it does stem from fear. And during that time, basically, his method was to dumb down the people. Initially, he would take away their language. Let's say controlled language. Controlled language. Crossbreeding completed, and this is after another section. For further surveillance of their original beginning, you must completely annihilate their mother tongue, both the new Negro and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves a new life work for both. Your language is a particular institution. It leads to the heart of people. Even controlling their languages. So they couldn't speak that other language and pass messages to one another, But they really instituted that fear factor that bound so many creative people. It is hard enough for us out here because of our skin color. They also put distrust and envy into our neighborhood. So not only do a healthy percentage of African Americans don't succeed in life because they are afraid to be themselves. Hell, they don't even know themselves after. To deal with distrust in one another and envy. Now, we see these things play out. Granted, and thankfully, that is starting to change. We're starting to trust one another a little bit more and starting to sit together a little bit more. However, black-on-black crime doesn't come from nowhere. Crime is a half of the time envy. Oh, you looking at my girl? Dude, I take your girl. Oh, you looking at my shoes? Dude, I take your shoes. Oh, you looking at my block? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna take your block. And then wonder why they get killed. We go through the streets trying to be better than one another, and that really feeds into Willie Lynch's plan that he said would last for at least 300 years. And later on in his letter, he says it'll last maybe even 1,000. Who knows? Because once it's installed, the Negro will keep it perpetually moving. And there are definitely signs that the things that he intended to do are here today, currently today. If a African American or a slave back then would try to read, they will beat the crap out of them. Now they have the old phrase, if you want to hide something from a Negro, you put it in the book. Well, why does that even work? Well, that works simply because they had the life beaten out of them if they'd learned anything. So now, day and age, guess what? People don't read books anymore. People don't learn anymore. People don't, I'm not, and once again, this is not a grandiose statement. I maybe shouldn't sound so grandiose. because not all African Americans are still stuck in this stigma. But these are those. This is for those that are stuck in this stigma where you're afraid to learn, afraid to pick up the book, or something inside you makes you don't want to do it now. I mean, back then they had fear in them. And that trickled down through the generations to now where kids don't like to read, and you wonder why they do bad in school. Well, let's see. It was taught to them. It was forcibly taught on them. Of course, this is going to be a part one. There will be a part two to this, so I'm going to try and cover as much as I can. Okay? Then he says that distrust is stronger than trust. And then envy is stronger than adoration or admiration, respect or admiration. Hundreds. Let's see. The black slave will, after receiving this indoctrination, should carry on and will become self-refueling and self-regenerating for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch male versus the young black male versus the old black male, the light-skinned slave versus the dark-skinned slave, the male against female and the female against male. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on you, on us. They must love and respect and trust us only. Well, honestly, that's still in play today. This is absolutely still in play today. Old black males and young black males beefing on blocks, fathers versus sons. I'm man. I'm more man than you. But goodly or greatly, it's fallen to a lesser extent as we grow out of it. But then it's light skinned slave and dark skinned slave. So you still have that, but he too light, or she too dark, or vice versa, and that causes division between us, self-hatred for even our own kind, even though the lighter-skinned African American was assimilated and their color is a little bit lighter. At the end of the day, they're still grouped in with us. I mean, they may be quote-unquote like more acceptable than others. I mean, for instance, the proof that this is still going on. The recent NBA Finals with was it Stephen Curry and LeBron James. If you notice, a lot of people of a lighter color, a lot of white people gravitate more towards Stephen Curry. Why? Because he's a lighter colored basketball player. And that actually became a story, light-skinned dude versus dark-skinned dude, and, light is white. So let's be honest, that type of hating someone because they're a little bit lighter than you was instituted in slavery, and this guy was contacted because they view this fully as an enterprise. So I had a lot of people say that on Facebook. I saw a lot of people say it on Facebook. And, if this type of discussion makes you uncomfortable, then guess what? You ain't in the real world. In the real world, you're going to talk about things that don't necessarily sit well with you, but they have to be talked about. Of course, the male against the female, we see that today, a lot of broken homes came from behind this. A lot of broken homes. I mean, you add the addition of, if you did get married as a slave, master would, if he was attracted to your woman, would take your woman and, rape her. Making the husband feel like, oh my God, she's dirty and unclean, breaking up the black family with that type of stuff. Now, I mean, they if you look nowadays, I mean, You have the independent black woman and I'm the manly man. And that's not how we used to carry it back in our culture. Men treated women like they were the salt of the earth in our culture. Granted, they had more, men meaning had more strenuous work, kind of what the man was built for, to be out working, hunting, gathering, fighting, defending the home, etc. So, when this came around, they made the woman feel more empowered and actually feminized the man. And sometimes feminizing men would come down to cutting off their private parts or even raping men, which is probably the beginning of homosexuality in the black culture, but rape black men. This could be a real cardinal thing. Let me go back to the speech, because I think that African Americans don't really succeed in life because we were programmed not to succeed in life, and the culture that stands above us does things to keep that continuously perpetually moving over and over and over and over and over again in the community by staging certain situations like black people being killed and so on and so forth to produce that anger that causes people to lash out. So here's one of the principles right here. Cardinal principles for making a Negro. All right. Let's see. With both horse and quote unquote Negro are no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. For orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. Both must be taught to respond to a polar new language, psychologically and physical instruction of contentment. Must be created for both. Let's see. They are dangerous near the family house, and it requires too much labor to watch them away from the house. Above all, you cannot get them to work in this natural state. Hence, both horse and Negro must be broken. Keep the body and take the mind. The body and take the mind. That's what they did. They took our mind. And slowly we've been growing out of it over the decades, and they know that we're growing out of it over the decades. And I think that may be an issue to why I thought it happened, because in all honesty, when the peoples who have been oppressed for over 400 years and then another 100 and some odd years silently, until recently we had our black president, who I must say is nothing but a fella. I'm not proud of Barack Obama at all. He has swag. He has a beautiful wife. He has beautiful children. But at the end of the day, he has done absolutely positively nothing for black people. Maybe that stipend thing, but I didn't hear about it. And quite frankly, I could use a stipend check right now. So I may just look into that. But outside of that, nothing really. But let's go back to this. Keep the body and trap the mind. Well, let's see. Is that still going on today? Yeah. It's easier for African American to get a job at some kind of labor type work, factory work, or to go and get a job playing basketball where their brain's not really needed. That doesn't mean we don't have intelligent basketball players, but more prize for their brawn than their brain. So many NFL players, so many players in these different sports where it's just about bronze. But if you go look in the corporate world, how many black CEOs do you got? You can probably count it on one hand. How many black people you got working in offices besides sales, even sales, unless it's a black business, or about, still about a handful. So even till this day, they still conditionally, subliminally keep you out of those positions so other African-American youth can't see that you succeed in an office. And because he could do it, I can do it too. And then when we do have some that succeed, they take it as an opportunity to show off and to cause envy instead of getting admiration for what they do, thus turning the older against the younger. Still, the carrying out of the Willie Lynch syndrome that has plagued the African-American community for a long time. Recently, and I'm going to get back to Willie Lynch's speech and bring in forth some of the things that we're dealing with in the community. Recently, the UN stated that African Americans by far have been done wrong and deserve reparations for slavery and their current treatment. Of course, this is going to be on another show about this particular thing, but I agree. I think that most of the world can agree that African Americans deserve some type of reparations for what they've been through. Is the UN doing that because they really believe that we deserve reparations? I think some of them do. But I think that right now it's a strategic plan because the router we get, the closer we get to President Obama instituting martial law, which none of us want martial law. If he does that, then we go back to slavery pretty much. He gives him control over everything. He takes our guns and so on and so forth. We can't protect ourselves. And at the end of the day, we're screwed. Anyway, people, look, we've run out of time. I'm going to hop back on this. We're going to go to commercials. So stay tuned for the second part of this show. We're going to get a little bit deeper into the Willie Lynch speech and the state of the black mind and hopefully get to the point where we can talk about how we can correct it. Once again, this is your man, Ra. Welcome to the Inner Source Radio, and I hope you come back for the second segment as we blast off and bring more information to the mind to help you succeed right on time. I'm not a hip-hop artist, but hey, let's get it in, fam.